Welcome back to Inside the Broncos, football in the West. Larry Pulowski here with you from Channel 12, and Jeff Caves from KTIK, 93.1 The Ticket, and Idaho Sports Talk every day, Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 o'clock. What's the temperature on Sports Talk this week, Jeff? What are people talking about? Is everybody getting geeked up for this Fresno game?
Not necessarily. The point spread certainly got in the way, Poe, and I think, it's unfortunate that Fresno has been a great rival for Boise State, but if you look at the record in the games, there's been some blowouts along the way with some dramatic games like last year's loss down in Fresno. And so this milk jug they want to get back and the trophy, that's all great. But really early in the week, very little conversation about a 17-point blowout maybe.
Well, it was interesting just to see an article in the Statesman this week about the empty case in the Hall of Fame Center where the milk jug used to be for the last 7 years. I mean, that's how low-key this whole thing's getting. We're talking about milk cans as the main prize for this deal. But, that game last week against Las Vegas, they went in there and they gave that thing away. That had to be really disturbing for Tim DeRuyter and his team.
It really is. I think Burrell couldn't throw the ball under pressure. I mean, if you look back at what happened with 7-8 minutes to go in that game, when the pressure was on in the fourth quarter, really Fresno State couldn't deliver. They really blew this game. They came back to take the lead. Burrell ended up throwing 2 interceptions. He's going to be tested again.
Oh, yeah.
If he thought that was a tough game in a difficult place, wait till he gets a load of oranged out Albertson Stadium.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different environment than down at the stadium in Las Vegas. Now, one really piece of bad news the Broncos had to absorb this week, and I think we kind of knew it was coming, but I didn't think it'd be a season-ending injury to Matt Miller, but it is. And a career ender, I guess, as far as his college football career goes. Your thoughts on Miller's impact real quickly, and then next step. Can he make it in the NFL? Well,
in terms of his impact on the team, it's going to be a big loss. In terms of his impact on the program, huge. I mean, Austin Pettis Jr., in some respects, maybe not quite as athletic or really as successful in the red zone as Austin was, but in terms of versatile, Chad Carp, the Idaho Statesman, told me, guy that can run 6 routes. He can be very versatile, do everything and block, and great off the field. So,
all right, well, it's very sad news for Matt, but a heck of a player and a guy that I think we'll see on Sundays. At least I hope he gets a chance and we get to see him. All right, when we come back, it's time to talk a little bit about games that affected Boise State in the Mountain West this week. We'll be back with more on Inside the Broncos, Football in the West.
Football in the West is brought to you by Even Green Technology, the Treasure Valley Solar Authority, and Steve's Hometown Ford and Steve's Hometown Toyota, 100% committed to your satisfaction. Also by Western Heating and Cooling, turn to the experts, and Leisure Time Spas and Hearth Products. Come see us at Leisure Time. You'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to Inside the Broncos, Football in the West. Hey, congratulations to this week's winner of our 4 tickets in the end zone, south end zone, and our 2 coffee mugs. Tammy Jacobson of Boise is our lucky winner this week. So if you'd like to sign up, go to our website. You only need to sign up once. Once you're in, you're in. You're in for the whole season. And only 1 entry per email address. All right, we talked a little bit about the Fresno game in Las Vegas and how that affected Boise State, but there were some other games this week that really affected Boise State. And, when you look at, we talked about Wyoming going over to Hawaii, and there was no way that they were going to lose that game. And by golly, I picked up the paper on Monday morning, actually went to the website, looked up the score, and they ended up losing that game. How in the world did Hawaii come back on them?
Well, they blew the game. Wyoming had a lead, and then all of a sudden it just got away from them, and I don't know that their offense is productive enough. Once you get Wyoming down, I don't think they can throw themselves out of a problem. Hawaii had an injury to Graham. It looks like he may be out for the year now. Their coach was dealing with his wife, who's had a serious illness in California. I don't know how Hawaii emotionally pulled it together. I didn't think they could. Their top running back is out now for another 3 games with a DUI suspension. But somehow, miraculously, they threw the football. They put the quarterback in, they benched, and they threw themselves back in the game.
Well, that was certainly one of the games that put Boise State really in their own realm. You know, they went out in the Mountain West. They're going to be in that championship game. It's up to them now to figure it out. But another big game that really didn't really surprise me, but I was interested in the outcome, was Colorado State and Nevada. Nevada losing its second game in a row at home.
Yeah, that's just too bad. I had higher hopes for Nevada, and I know Fajardo did.
I'm sure he did.
But the defense leaking is something that has to get fixed, and I don't know if it's going to be a one-season deal. It doesn't look like it for now. And Nevada's got BYU, which we'll talk about as well. We'll see how they fare there. But you got to hand it to Colorado State. You know, they've won 13, 14 games now, Poe, in the last or 10 or 13 games, 10, 11. I think 11 of 14 now is their record. And so they are formidable. Boise State took care of them. They got a dynamic duo that pitch it and catch it. And they've got a big game, too, to talk about.
Well, it's certainly not the Colorado State team that we first encountered coming into the Mountain West Conference. McElvain's got him going down there, and he really seems to know what he's doing and have a heck of a team behind him that just, they don't give up. Even when they were down to Boise State, they still played hard at the end. All right, let's take a look at the standings in the Mountain West Conference right now. And obviously, Boise State with a win this week against Fresno vaults into first place. And really the same scenario for San Diego State on the other side of the bracket. If they can get by Hawaii, which it's in San Diego, and you'd think they could do that, they vault to the front too.
Yeah, and Boise State still controls their own destiny. When if they defeat Utah State at the end and Utah State wins out but loses to Boise State, they get the bid. So really Boise State is right where they want to be. As long as they win out and they beat all the mountain teams, they'll be fine. Now, if they're going to lose, they better lose tonight to Fresno State or San Diego State when they come to Albertson Stadium, because they could afford a loss almost to that side.
Out of division. Sure.
Yes, but if you lose to one of the guys in your division, it'll be hard to own the tiebreaker.
All right, very good. Well, if you would like those tickets, remember, go to our website, 12ktrv.com, and sign up to win those tickets. Thanks to our major sponsor, Even Green Technology, the Treasure Valley's solar expert. We'll be back with more Inside the Broncos, Football in the West, right after this. Welcome back to Inside the Broncos, Football in the West. Time now to turn our attention to the Mountain West Conference and a couple of really interesting games that have got some huge impact on not only Boise State, but the whole status and standing in the Mountain West Conference. And let's start it off with the big dog, Utah State at Colorado State. A lot of Bronco fans going to be rooting for the Rams this weekend.
Yeah, two pretty good football teams that throw the ball pretty well. And I think Colorado State has a very, very hot tandem in Garrettson and I think it's Higgins. And Higgins, you know, he caught 11 balls against Boise State.
Wow.
And he has just been on fire. He's now up to 10 touchdowns.
Does Garrettson, does he surprise you in how well he's done? You know, as a backup to Chucky Keaton, didn't get much playing time, but now he's just been thrown in.
Well, he played well after the Boise State game, really. He started getting better. And so I kind of lost track of him. But there's something about that system that Wells has put together, both offensively and defensively. The guys are plugging in and performing. But I would say, sure, when he's throwing for almost 300 yards, yeah, that's a surprise.
Well, you know, you look at his pass efficiency rating, over 150, about 158, and they've got 5 people that have carried the ball at least 20 times. So they really spread that out. They've got a lot of guys catching the ball too. And the same with Colorado State. They have got a lot of receivers that they work into the ball game. And, you know, their quarterback has done a pretty solid job too.
Well, he had a lot of preseason expectations on his shoulders, so that wasn't unexpected at all. But at the end of the day, if Colorado State doesn't turn the ball over, because, you know, Utah State preys on turnovers.
Big time.
A lot of, how many points they have off turnovers?
112 points off turnovers
so
this year. That's a lot of
as
points.
long as they take care of if Grayson takes care of the football, there's no reason Colorado State shouldn't win that football game.
Well, I agree with you there. The second game we're looking at, kind of a little different twist here, San Jose at Wyoming. And the only reason I really was intrigued with this game, one, is I'm not sure how good or how bad San Jose is. And that Wyoming loss at Hawaii last week was really surprising after seeing that they were up by a couple of touchdowns and blew the lead. But it's in Wyoming, and that place is always difficult for teams from California to play in for some reason.
Well, first of all, it's 7,200 feet.
That's a start.
You're coming from sea level. You know, you're going up straight uphill, and you're playing almost at Bogus Basin or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's different for guys. And the time zone shouldn't be. It used to be weather was a factor, the grass was a factor.
Right.
They wouldn't mow it and try to really slow you down. But weather won't be a factor for this game unless something dramatically changes. But going on the road is different, and San Jose's got a new freshman quarterback, and this is his road trip, and Wyoming is different pace of play and different pace of everything when you get there, and it's all of a sudden you get there and they're after you, and it's 7,200 feet, your breath's a little short. It could be tough for them.
Well, I'm just interested to see how Wyoming fans are warming up to Bowl, the new coach, came from North Dakota State, wins 3 FCS championships at North Dakota State, and brings expectations to the program that hasn't had expectations for quite a while.
Yeah, I think they liked him. He did a big tour of the state, and he really, he's a low-key guy. I think he fits in real well there. This is homecoming for Wyoming. They haven't been home in a month. I think San Jose is going to have their hands full with this motivated group of guys.
All right, well, when we come back, we're going to make some picks of the week right here on Inside the Broncos. Football in the West, brought to you by Even Green Technology. Welcome back to Inside the Broncos. Football in the West. Time now for the picks of the week. Our favorite segment on this show, to be embarrassed, depressed, angry. What other adjectives can we use?
I would say it's a segment that keeps giving because I worry about it all weekend. It's the one segment I can't lose.
Well, here's the tale of the tape, and I don't know how that happened last week. I got lucky there, but you got hosed by Wyoming. That was horrible.
Terrible.
And Nevada didn't step up to the plate for you. That's horrible. So we've got a couple of 8 wins over here and a whole bunch of losses. So let's get out of that. Your picks of the week.
Yeah, we're real similar here. As I said before, as long as Colorado State keeps their turnovers to a minimum, they got a hot receiver. I like this matchup for them. This is their moment. This is a beatable team with a different quarterback. They're a little shorthanded on defense. I really still think this is the time for Colorado State to really show their mettle. This is it. This is the game for them, and they should score a touchdown and win by 7.
You think they should win by 7 at home. I like that pick, and you're going to see why in a minute. All right, you're going a point at home with Wyoming is a great bet, I think.
That's hard for me to turn down. Again, the elevation, the freshman quarterback on the road, and the dependability of Wyoming. The key will be they got to get up early in the game and then just control it on the ground. They really don't throw the ball that well. They can't get down. I don't know if they'll come back. Just don't know what San Jose State's motivation is sometimes playing games like that.
And I liked your comment earlier in the show about, we're sea level versus 7,200 feet. That's just one of those interesting things.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to some of my picks. We took the same game here. I just can't resist this pick. Colorado State to me is just too good. I think they're going to win by 10 points at least. But again, you saw my record at the start. The second game, I'm going to go with the Aztecs. It's in San Diego, 9.5 points. This is at least a 2-touchdown game in my mind, and I'm going to jump on the Aztec bandwagon.
They run the ball real well. Pumphrey should have a big day against Hawaii. A lot of relatives for these kids in that Southern California area. We'll see how focused they are.
All right, and then we're going to bandwagon this last pick. Jeff, you're going to take the Broncos?
Yeah, we'll give a lot of reasons why, but Fresno State's not able to defend the pass. They can't rush the passer. That's a lethal combination if you look back this year at Boise State's success with Grant Hedrick. And we'll tell you why next.
All right, well, I'm going the same way with this one. We've got 2 of the same picks this week. That really scares me, though. When Jeff and I are on the same page on 2 different games, it could be frightening results. But those are our picks of the week. Do with them as you will. When we come back, time to get into our Pac-12 discussion. Stay tuned later in the show for Fresno State, Boise State talk right here on Inside the Broncos, Football in the West. Welcome back to Inside the Broncos, Football in the West. Jeff, the Pac-12 this week has got a couple of real dynamo games, and let's kick it off with a bang. The Washington Huskies and the Oregon Ducks and a couple of former Boise State coaches going to butt heads at Autzen Stadium.
Yeah, Mark Helfrich and Chris Peterson, I'm sure, are quite close. Mm-hmm. And so this will be the first test for Coach Pete to go, ooh, this is a good friend of mine. I got to play him. Mentor to Helfrich, I'm sure in some ways. So that'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. But you look at the matchup, and Oregon's offensive line still has a lot of Swiss cheese to it. And you got the best defensive line probably in the Pac-12 with the most sacks and the most turnovers. And I think this is Pete's time. This is his time. He's won in this stadium before. He's not scared of it. Washington has a horrible record on the road against ranked teams. They've won like one time in the last 20. So this is not their expertise, but that's why Chris Peterson's there. If Pete gets by them, he's got ASU and UCLA at home. He's got to go to Arizona and Washington State. If he gets by this one, I think there's a possibility he could end up with one, maybe only 2 losses at the max.
You know, that's an interesting angle you take on the Chris Peterson approach. Does he have Oregon's number? He's had it the last 2 times at Boise State. Now he's got a lot more tools to work with up at Husky Stadium, but this one's at Autzen, and Autzen's always a tough place to go into. And Mariotti, this kid's numbers are just off the charts.
Right.
17 touchdowns, no interceptions, an almost 200 pass efficiency rating. This kid is just solid from word one to the last word you could say about him. I really am impressed with this kid, but let's see if the Coach Pete magic works.
Well, it better be more than magic. Coach Kwiatkowski needs some too.
All right, Stanford at Arizona State. The Cardinal go down to take on the Sun Devils in Tempe. This could be a game of 2 different worlds. You know, Arizona State likes fast, move,
Right.
move,
Athletic.
go.
Yeah.
Stanford is totally the opposite.
Yeah, they are. And the other thing that could play into this, Poe, is that, you know, Stanford not only beat Arizona State once last year, they beat them twice. They beat them in the Pac-12 championship game. And that's got to stick with the team. You know, you lose to a team twice in one season, now you get them on your turf. It's going to come down to Stanford's offense to me. They've not been able to get 2 dependable performances out of their running back. Got good performance out of the quarterback, but they've got to score more points and more consistently. And Arizona State's got a pretty good defense. I think Stanford's defense could be the difference here. So that's how I see it.
All right, great. Well, you know, it's going to be an interesting tilt down there. I'm always intrigued with games in Tempe. You know, I've been down there to a couple of games. It's a really cool environment, but I just, you know, Stanford is like that old reliable engine. You know, they just chug along and they keep going.
Physical.
And they plug along and they don't make a lot of mistakes. To me, will come down to turnovers by Arizona State. They are a little bit turnover prone, and it may be one of those cases where they just have too many and Stanford takes advantage of it, but don't look for Stanford to make too many mistakes. All right, that wraps up the Pac-12. When we come back, it's time to talk about Boise State and their arch rival milk can opponents in Fresno State. We're excited about Fresno.
Bulldogs.
Yeah, we love to have Bulldogs in town. All right, we'll be back with more Inside the Broncos Football in the West, brought to you by Even Green Technology. Welcome back to Inside the Broncos Football in the West. Time for Jeff and I now to dissect, trisect, bisect, whatever kind of secting we're going to do. Let's get to the bottom of Fresno State.
Yeah.
How in the world can Fresno State be 117th in the country in 3rd down conversions and still have a winning record?
Well, they probably have some luck, really. And they do real well on 1st and 2nd down.
They have the horseshoe the right way in their locker room.
Yeah, I don't know. How could they give up over 200 yards in rushing and really stay in too many games? Because you can't do that. You can't allow it. Boise State doesn't even average that many. So to me, this game really comes down to that. If I'm Mike Sanford, I'm going to run on 1st down, then I'm going to run on 2nd down, and if I have to, I'll run again on 1st down. Because by law of averages, this game should be controlled on the ground. They are really struggling up front.
Well, the Jai train should be running at full tilt. You know, I'm really intrigued with this McNichols kid that we saw last week coming out of nowhere and really making an impact in that game. And Devin Demas has got to be sitting back going, hey, what about me? You know, I'm not chopped liver either, and he didn't really get much of a chance this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how much that running back is used in various sets and in various combinations.
I think they're going to use him a lot. I think they're going to use him on the edge. I think they're going to use him in a swinging gate fashion. I think you may see him more out of the backfield as a traditional tailback, and because that is your future there. That slash wide receiver running back position could be a very versatile spot for Boise State. This kid's got some jets, and they couldn't afford the red shirt, especially with Matt Miller going down, and they knew it. They needed another playmaker on the field.
Okay, well, Grant Hedrick's safety blanket, Matt Miller, is out. The leg injury has cost him the rest of his Boise State career. But, you know, I've heard chatter this week about, well, that'll just free him up now to free his mind and quarterbacks with a free mind play better. Is that legit?
No, I don't buy that. I mean, if I'm looking for the biggest guy on the field that catches it, and I know where he is, it's Matt Miller. You take that away, now I'm forced to follow my progressions and make my reads. It's not that I wanted to. I'm forced. And sometimes there's a benefit out of that. Now maybe he'll start trusting himself more in following the progression and getting other people involved because he almost has to, or he won't. I think he's going to have a lot more time because Fresno is really struggling in pass rush. Really, really, really struggling. So you give Grant a lot of time, he can dissect you. I think this should be a big game for them offensively.
All right, well, let's flip the other side of the field and let's go to talk about Brian Burrell, the quarterback for Fresno State. This kid, about 115 pass efficiency rating, which is really not very good, struggles at times with different things, 57% completion percentage for him. Talk this week, and I heard the chatter about replacing him with the transfer from Duke. But you say
they went down
that's
that
not
road
gonna
before.
happen. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they already went down there. Why would you do that again? I mean, that's how they got in this situation.
Sure.
The first 3 games or so, they were going back and forth with quarterbacks. Then they settled on Burrell, and so Connect wasn't going to play anymore. And apparently, he doesn't have command of the playbook yet. And he just came into the program. He didn't have much time with him. So I don't know why they would do that other than sheer desperation. Which, if they get down by a couple of scores and they're in the second or third quarter and they're on the road, DeRuyter knows we don't owe anybody anything. Let's try whatever we can to stay in this game.
All right. Well, we've heard all the good things about Josh Harper, the wide receiver. Most catches for Fresno State. He's the favorite target of Burrell for sure. I think they may have to find a secondary receiver because when you're that single focused, it just doesn't work for an entire game. I'm going to look to Greg Watson. He's got 3 touchdown catches this year, so keep your eyes on Watson. We'll see if he makes any kind of an impact on this game. Well, Jeff, tomorrow or tonight, we're leading right up to kickoff.
Yep.
Kickoff at 6 o'clock tonight, just about 5 minutes away from seeing some action. Your thoughts, last thoughts on Fresno State, Boise State. How is this game going to unfold?
I think Boise State blows them out. There's really every reason to believe that Grant will have the time. Ajayi should have a huge day on the ground. And again, as long as they don't blow up with turnovers, they should win by 17 or more points.
All right, very good. Well, I like that prediction, Jeff, and I'm going to go along with you on that. A big thank you to Steve's Hometown Motors, obviously in Ontario and Weiser. If you need automotive care, go see the guys at Steve's. They'll take care of you. And to our major sponsor, Even Green Technology, the Treasure Valley's solar expert. Jeff, tonight, game night.
Yeah.
Call-in show?
Yep, 670 KBY. I'll be right there right after the game, and 96.90.
All right, call them and give them your opinion on Fresno State, Boise State. And that does it for this week. We'll be back with more Inside the Broncos, Football in the West next week.
Inside the Broncos, Football in the West is brought to you by Even Green Technology, the Treasure Valley Solar Authority, and Steve's Hometown Ford and Steve's Hometown Toyota, 100% committed to your satisfaction. Also by Western Heating and Cooling, turn to the experts, and Leisure Time Spas and Hearth Products. Come see us at Leisure Time. You'll be glad you did.